The TF2 bot crisis has been running rampant for about 2 years now, and with that came a diverse cast of bots and hosters that are, in some ways, unique and relatable. As is the case with Sam Smith's Stereotypes videos, which thankfully inspired this one, I'm obliged to disclaim to you all that these stereotypes will not always apply to everyone, as there will always be an exception to anything I mention. Also keep in mind that I cannot necessarily cover every bot you may have seen or will see after this video is published, as things are often subject to change. With that out of the way, let's get started. I will start this off with the low-hanging fruit and almost universally recognized variant of the bunch simply because they are pretty much the foundation of all other bots on this list. Catbots are automated accounts that follow predetermined paths around a map and land headshots whenever an enemy player is within their line of sight. They were created by the Russian GitHub user Nullified Cat and were later released to the public after he and his bots were all backbanned following a successful storm of Koth Harvest servers. Oftentimes you will also find them spinning around, looking up and or down, or even wearing strange combinations of cosmetics that users cannot otherwise equip together. This combination initially caused everyone else's second and third cosmetic slots to be cleared out, but this was fortunately patched in a later update. Nowadays, you'll usually find these bots in pretty much every game mode, save for manpower and pastime, but their presence is generally overshadowed by the remaining bots on my list, and for good reason. Spam bots are generally classified by whatever it is they are spamming on the server, whether it be memes, racial slurs, advertisements, IP grabbers, or in the case of Waffen SS, vuvuzelas. Spam bots are rather rare in modern times, as Valve unleashed a series of patches from June 16, 2020 onwards that restricts chat privileges for newer accounts unless they purchase a key or cosmetic item. Premium bots are also able to call vote kicks against allied players to avoid being vote kicked, and even clear text chat with new line characters when being called out.
You know what this team could use? What? 5 more snipers.
Boat rolls are essentially spam bots on steroids, as they often join in parties of 6 and kick as many allied players as possible without getting kicked at all. Whenever you see bots of this magnitude join the server, just be ready for an entirely new game at this point, because they'll pretty much kick anyone, including yourself, and then leave when a server's pretty much Thanos snap.
I am inevitable.
If Among Us was a game mode in Team Fortress 2, this would be the imposter of the bunch, as they try to avoid being kicked by simply taking the identity of someone else. It got so difficult that Valve had to add timestamps to the vote menu on June 22nd, 2021, because they went as far as to copy their victims' avatars to further confuse players into kicking the actual guys. You'll usually find them when the hosts are either fed up with the community as a whole, or if they want to do a little trolling. If these bots are impersonating a single entity, such as a YouTuber or political figure, then the entity must have pissed off the host at some point, that they will pretty much frame them for it all, as is the case for Pazer due to his open source bot detection program, and Whammo due to his desperate attempts at becoming the so-called pillar of the TF2 community as a whole. The door-to-door salesmen of our list. These bots are able to have their behaviors modified if users purchase these modifications through a digital storefront such as Shopee.gg. This can range from specific targeting to temporary rental to even a temporary or even permanent shutdown. The only common thing between all the bots I've seen is their sale of immunity from being killed or kicked, which is more like a scam in my view, considering most bots operate on an honor system in which killing them enough times will nullify their immunity. This is rather easy to do, especially as an engineer due to how the sentries generally target the closest players. And while we're on the topic of scams, bots like this are part of a generally harmless variation of your typical spam bot, as they will simply spam text chat without selecting a single class. That doesn't mean that they aren't completely harmless, as they serve to introduce victims to a scam disguised as a free item giveaway. You won't really see these bots anymore because Matt has been trade and community banned several times. But if you do spot one, simply block and report the accounts to Valve because they can't really do much harm to anyone with functioning brain cells.
And Jesus Christ comes again, and every eye will see him when he come again.
For when you cannot come to church, so church comes to you, these bots will sit in spawn and just mic spam versus Bible until they disconnect or get vote kicked. They never leave spawn, so enemy players won't really consider them a threat. These bots deviate from the norm of going sniper or heavy, and instead go out of their way to heal any ally in plain sight. They are completely harmless, and can also be considered as a dance partner due to how they automatically taunt with whoever they heal. Lag bots can take one of two forms, the one that simply lags out the server upon selecting a class, and the one that will lag out the server when being vote kicked. They will basically issue excessive commands to the server in an attempt to lag it out, and Valve has taken to patching these exploits so many times that they're pretty much an endangered species. And while we're on the topic of that...
Gentlemen, cheers! What the hell is that? My hand. But of course.
Whoever hosted these bots must have played Team Fortress 2 enough to realize the popular run gag and try to win the community over. They're generally harmless and could be considered the in-game equivalent of man's best friend.
Get behind me, Doctor!
Jawohl!
Charge me!
Ja! I am the Übermensch!
Yes!
Jawohl!
These bots are unique in that they join as a pair, with one mowing down enemies as the heavy, with the other pocketing the heavy as a medic. The medic will not heal anyone else, and will generally leave when the heavy gets kicked. After it was revealed that there was an exploit within a prior version of the game that could allow for hackers to remotely execute code, the hosts thought it would be a good idea to instill fear into their victims by threatening to send malware to other users remotely. It's nothing more than a scare tactic, so Valve servers